a person passes away as a result of a homicide by vehicle while DUI or fleeing the scene of the accident, we handle those cases because we recognize the importance of those cases. I'm also a lifelong resident of Northeast Philadelphia. I only live a couple minutes from here. And as a person, and as any person who's lived in this city for these past couple years, it's painfully obvious how bad of a situation it has become with drinking and driving, deaths from drinking and driving, and the related problem of fleeing the scenes of accidents. Even the most hardened prosecutors and judges who've seen everything would undoubtedly tell you that the saddest, most tragic cases that we see in the criminal justice system are those involving automobiles, without a doubt. There's a randomness of circumstances, there's a suddenness. To speak in all frankness, a lot of times when people end up finding themselves in court, or even sometimes when people find themselves as victims, there's sort of a pattern that led up to it that may have been foreseen. When a person gets killed by a car, there's no way to know that's coming. And it hits anyone. It goes from young children to the elderly, and people who would have in their life, except for maybe hopefully jury duty, never even gone down to the criminal justice center, find themselves sitting there as a victim of a crime despite the fact that they did everything in their life to avoid ever coming in contact with the criminal justice system. And oftentimes, these cases seem to happen at times of celebration, some of the most, what are supposed to be the happiest times of our lives, graduations. Just the other day I was sitting in the homicide preliminary hearing room for a case that took place where there was a 3-car pileup on I-95 on New Year's Eve. And obviously all of these circumstances fit the tragic case of the death of Peter Roberto Jr., which I was honored to be the prosecutor that handled. I've seen everything. The manner of death in which Peter Roberto Jr. was killed turns my stomach to this day. He had a grown man who was a father himself of young children, who had a wife, who was with his family at one point, spent his whole Thanksgiving day drinking. Went to the Judge football game and drank. Went to a bar and drank. I think there's probably a pretty strong indication that, for whatever reason, his wife separated herself from him that day, and he sought out a car, borrowed a car from a friend, and continued to drink and drive. And at 6 o'clock that day, he ran over and killed Peter Roberto. As horrible as that was, he compounded that by stopping his car, turning around, and as all sorts of citizens around him were assisting Peter Roberto, other drivers who would stop their car, parents and children who were sitting on their steps and saw this horrible accident, customers of the Wawa came out, which is right at that intersection, and helped him. He walked right up to Peter Roberto, looked at him. A 10-year-old kid screamed at him, "What were you thinking?" And he turned around and walked away. Clearly, that should not be a third-degree felony, on par with shoplifting or stealing a car. Clearly, 1 to 2 years doesn't begin to address the seriousness of what took place on that day.